I look forward to spanking each and every single one of you at the new esteemed dungeon. It's Friday, so you know what that means. It's time for us to find out a little bit about what Florida Man has been up to. Yes, written by Kevin, read by me. Can you believe it's been an entire week since we last talked about Florida Man? Yes, I can. In fact, I don't believe it because I recorded one of these yesterday. So for me, it's been a lot more recently. But also I can believe because weeks go by. It's like week. That's how it works. Time, it flows forward. We all get older. And then we all eventually die and go into an endless oblivion.
Are you okay?
Oh, fuck now, Jesus whistle. Why? I can't, but that's because I wrote 5 of these scripts back to ensure we're able to stay on schedule. Thank you, Kevin. I hope it didn't drive you mad. I've spent the past week knee-deep in Florida Man stories, and apparently Florida Man has been spending a whole lot of time knee-deep in kinky sex.
I offer you ultimate pleasure.
All right, Kevin. Getting my video to monetize this early, are you? That's right, Simon, because you always seem to be either very confused or very uncomfortable when these topics come up. Today, I'm going to be talking about Florida Man Kink Edition. I'm not uncomfortable. Kevin once said that I seem asexual. I was like, what the fuck, Kevin? Just randomly throwing some shade my way. Admittedly, I'm a bit surprised there are so many of these stories coming out of Florida specifically. When I lived in Miami, the state's anti-sodomy laws made pretty much everything illegal except for 3 minutes of missionary. Just the way God intended. Wait, there's really like anti-sodomy laws like on the books in Kevin's lifetime? Shit. Those laws are still on the books. Fucking hell. Though the US Supreme Court's decision in Lawrence and Texas made the laws unenforceable. But you don't come here for a civics lessons. Let's bring on the Florida Man. And don't worry, I promise that no more than 50% of these stories will be completely morally reprehensible. Yes! Ever get that feeling when you're online wondering if someone might be peeking over your virtual shoulder? Or maybe you're trying to stream your show from another country? Well, guess what? Surfshark VPN is today's sponsor, and they're going to help you out with all of those problems. Surfshark VPN encrypts your internet activity, making you stay hidden from online snoopers and trackers. With Surfshark, you could virtually travel the world, browse privately, and block annoying ads and malware. Plus, Surfshark has breach detection that notifies you of personal data leaks. Email security, credit card security, personal ID security, you name it. One of the best parts, you don't have to count devices. One Surfshark account covers your whole household with unlimited devices. Plus, they offer a 30-day money-back guarantee so you can try it out risk-free. And if you ever need help, their 24/7 customer service is always just a live chat, an email, or a social media message away. With over 3,200 servers in 100 locations, you get a different server for every need. So, secure your privacy today with Surfshark. Go to surfshark.com/blaze and enter the promo code BLAZE for 4 extra months. That's right, 4 extra months with the promo code BLAZE. Thanks to Surfshark for sponsoring, and now back to today's episode. Florida Man jailed over bumper sticker. When it comes to various kinks, a lot of people like to keep their personal preferences quiet. Yeah, Kevin, how do you know I'm just not keeping it quiet? How do you know, Kevin? What do you know about my personal life, Kevin? Reading deep into my soul. Unless you know you're in the presence of other kink-friendly individuals, saying the wrong thing can result in a lot of unwanted attention and judgment. But some people go in the complete opposite direction. They're into some shit and they absolutely want you to know about it even if you just met them. It's like... Hello there, nice to meet you. Can I see your feet? The latter is exactly the kind of person that Florida Man Dylan Webb was, as evidenced by his bumper sticker that proudly declared, "I eat arse." Okay, whilst I can't speak to whether or not that bumper sticker got the attention of any curious women, in May of 2019, it did get the attention of Columbia County Sheriff's Deputy Travis English. Who's making that sticker? It's a very niche market, isn't it? It's probably a print-on-demand item. But Travis wasn't interested in finding out how good Dylan was with his tongue. He instead believed that the bumper sticker violated the state's obscenity laws. Travis pulled Dylan over and demanded that he remove part of the bumper sticker to censor the word arse. So it just says, "I eat." It's like, yeah, no shit. At that point, the sticker would just say, "I eat," which would be among the dumbest bumper stickers you've ever seen. Of course you eat. All humans eat. Even breatharians eat. Yeah, despite whatever you believe. They don't live off light. I know, it's amazing. They just lie about it because they think you're stupid enough to actually believe it. Anyway, after refusing to censor the bumper sticker, Dylan was arrested and charged with obscene writing on vehicles and resisting an officer without violence. Wait. How did he resist? He just got arrested. The latter charge sparked a lot of controversy online because it sounds pretty nonsensical, but it was for Dylan's refusal to obey Travis's order and censor the sticker. Wait, then he's not resisting arrest, he's just not doing what you tell him to, which is why he got arrested. What the fuck? This arrest was actually a really big deal, and it reopened a debate about free speech. I don't know if you're aware of this or not, since you're European, Simon, but God personally granted every American citizen the unalienable right to say absolutely anything we want at all times, no matter what. That's not... Kevin, I know that's not what it means. Any attack on Americans' right to free speech is not only a tyrannical attack on our Constitution, but an attack on God himself. Yeah. It's like, people will be like,
Simon, you deleted my comment on a YouTube video.
even if I didn't delete it, people think like that I deleted their comment because it just got downvoted to oblivion, or YouTube deleted it, or it's got one of the filter words, and they're like,
Simon, you violated my right to free speech.
and I'm like, well, good news. I don't give a shit.
How dare you!
I'm going to delete your comment if I want to. It's how it works. And that's not how free speech works. Also, I'm not American. As such, the fact that Dylan liked to eat arse was a major national news story. I don't know if the bumper sticker had ever worked for Dylan, but once the story got picked up by the media, I'm sure that he spent the next month tongue deep in cake. Now. The state attorney's office ultimately dropped the charges because there was a very real possibility they could be contested on First Amendment grounds. Dylan tried to sue Travis for violating his First Amendment rights, but a district court ruled that the officer had qualified immunity and thus couldn't be held accountable for his overzealous enforcement of a law that probably can't be enforced at all thanks to federal rulings. Yeah, I don't feel the police officer is personally liable in a civil suit for attempting to do his job even if he's misguided about it. He should... what was it called? Qualified immunity. Obviously, there's definitely problems with qualified immunity, but in a case like this, it makes sense to have qualified immunity.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
It's kind of weird that Florida seems to have a disproportionately high number of regressive and unenforceable laws on the books, but that's not really relevant, so let's just move on. Florida woman pulled over for driving with man in a cage. Only in Florida, my dudes. Unfortunately, very little is known about this case, with much of what exists being speculation. However, in July of 2019, a woman was pulled over in a pickup truck for carrying some unusual cargo. Just a dude in a cage. In the bed of a truck was a dog cage, and inside of the cage was a man. Oh no, this is a kink, isn't it? Because this is the kink episode. She's keeping him in a cage because he likes it. It looks like the man was shirtless in the picture, but since this case didn't turn into something bigger, I'm going to assume that he at least had pants on. In a photo taken from the police cruiser's dash cam, the two officers on the scene look understandably confused. Why was there a man in a dog cage, and why did he look happy as can be, just sitting there with his sunglasses on? Like any good dog, maybe he was just excited that his owner was taking him out for a drive. I mean, who can say? There's some speculation that the man was being punished for some sort of marital transgression and had quite literally been put in the doghouse, but the overwhelming consensus is that this was definitely some kind of kink shit. Yeah. I agree. Look, he's got his sunglasses on, he's doing a good old smile. He's into that shit, and you know he is. There's no record of arrest being made, so we're unlikely to ever know for sure. Most likely, the Florida woman was given a ticket because one of her passengers wasn't wearing a seatbelt, and that was the end of it. If that's the case, I'm sure the man was responsible for paying the ticket like a good little sub. But while we're on the topic of doms and subs, Florida woman asked City Council to fund her dungeon. I mean, good luck with that one. I mean, shit. It was December the 20th, 2022, and the Fort Lauderdale City Council was having a meeting to discuss allocating $1 million to fund a new waste management project. It was the sort of riveting discussion that you can see on your local public access TV channel. Wait, they really televise that in America? I mean, people watch that? Who gives a shit? Hell, you could even go to the meeting yourself and catch all the excitement live. Meetings like these are typically boring, and few people could be bothered to engage with them. I'm sure the people who run the meetings feel that's for the best, as typically every city council meeting like this will have a portion of the meeting dedicated to allowing those in attendance to speak. It's usually a lot of old man yelling at clouds sort of stuff, but occasionally a rather memorable story will come out of these meetings. Yeah, what's that? There's that amazing YouTube channel, they're like pranksters or whatever, and they're like petitioning to have a skate park built, and they pronounce a word off. What was the word? There's a word that they say wrong, and it's just so beautiful. It's such a good video, and I'm completely butchering it. I apologize. If anyone knows it, leave it in the comments. When that does happen, the stories are typically memorable because of how horrible they are. For example, when I was a kid, my town was discussing tearing down a defunct elementary school, so someone went to the town meeting and gave an hour-long speech about how we couldn't take down the school because it would create low-cost housing that would allow those sorts of people to move in. Holy shit. I mean, look, even if that is your opinion, shut the fuck up and don't talk about it on television. You're insane. People will hate you. But the council members in Fort Lauderdale were in for an entirely different breed of insanity. A Florida woman going by the name Miss Crave had asked to speak, and she walked to the podium in full latex dominatrix gear, flanked by her 2 slaves who were also covered from head to toe in latex. She opened her speech with, "Good evening, council peoples. You may call me mistress." She went on to request that the council allocate $250,000 to support doms and subs in Broward County by building a dungeon created for us by us, the taxpayers and voting citizens. This is your hobby. The taxpayers shouldn't be paying for your hobby. She went on to end the speech with, "I look forward to spanking each and every single one of you at the new esteemed dungeon."
I'm into it.
You are dismissed. The city manager replied,
"Okay, thank you. And happy holidays to you."
As Miss Craven and her subordinates walked away. I just imagine this guy just not being entertained. He's like, "Oh, for fuck's sake, I just want to go home. I just want to go home. I'm bored." Someone else on the council chimed in by asking the city manager if there were any districts that had a dungeon, and he sounded rather disappointed that the answer was no.
So the orgy's off?
Obviously, this request was never going to go anywhere, and it was later revealed that it had all been a publicity stunt for a new S&M nightclub in Miami called Crave. Not wanting a good idea to go to waste, another Florida woman who identified herself as Ashley Cream appeared before the Boca Raton Planning and Zoning Board to request that they declare March 10th Sugar Daddy and Mummy Appreciation Day, citing the fact that Florida has the highest per capita rate of sugar daddies and mummies in the country. This is just not happening. What are you trying to promote?
Hold on.
Unsurprisingly, this request also went nowhere, and Ashley appears to have also been an employee of Crave. Okay, that same nightclub, fair enough. I have to give them credit though, not only did this get the nightclub a metric ton of free publicity, but they had the good sense not to pull this shit at a city meeting in Miami. Even though most people would see this as a harmless joke, it's still best not to risk pissing off or antagonizing the city council where your business is actually located. Yeah, you'd be like, "I want to do an expansion." They'd be like, "No!" Florida man fired for extorting sexual favors. I've kept things pretty light so far, but when I promised you that half of these stories would be completely morally reprehensible, you should have taken that as a warning that some of them would be. Florida man can be dangerous and unpredictable, and that's only more true when you give them a badge and a uniform. Oh no, I'd say a badge and a gun, but they're Florida men. They obviously already have guns. So many guns. Back in May of 2012, Florida man and Lauderhill police officer Franklin Hartley followed 2 women in their car from Vegas Cabaret, the city's only strip club, to a nearby Taco Bell. The Taco Bell was closed, and Franklin turned on his police lights to make a traffic stop. In some reports, it said that he believed they were intoxicated. In others, it's claimed that he told them they ran a red light, or possibly multiple red lights. But rather than arresting them for driving under the influence or writing them a ticket for a traffic violation, he told them to follow him somewhere more private. They drove their cars to an isolated business and parked behind the building where Franklin had invited his fellow officer and Florida man Thomas Miranda to meet them. Franklin took the passenger from the car and began kissing her and groping her, all while reminding her that she could go to jail. He then had her perform oral sex on him before they engaged in intercourse. Good God. You better be going to prison. At this point, you may be thinking that this has nothing to do with Kink. This is just your garden variety sexual assault and abuse of power. But it's what Thomas's part in all of this was that raised even more eyebrows. Thomas had quietly watched his buddy abuse an innocent woman. Then, once they finished, he requested that the driver of the car punch him in the dick. She understandably refused, thinking it was a trick, but Franklin assured her that it was okay to do so because it turned him on, and so she punched him in the dick, though sadly not with brass knuckles or anything.
He punched me in the dick!
It took over a year before the 2 officers were arrested, but they eventually were, and they lost their jobs as well. That's it? I feel like you need, time in jail for this. Yeah. Despite this happening in 2012, the case didn't finally approach a resolution until last year? That's 11 years afterwards, when Franklin and Thomas both pled no contest to multiple charges. But something that happened 11 years before? Unfortunately, I can't find the results of the sentencing, but they were both facing decades in prison, and the court hadn't made any offer of leniency in exchange for the no contest plea. As for the victims, they walked away from this better than most. People in positions of authority do shit like this all the time and never face any consequences, often because people refuse to believe the victims. I'm sure nothing can erase the trauma of what was done to the passenger in that car, but the $4.5 million she received in an uncontested civil lawsuit against the police probably took some of the sting out of it. You could bet it did. That's a fuckload of money, and well deserved. As for the driver who had to helplessly watch her friend be assaulted, she received $1.7 million. Normally I'd say that at least she got to punch one of the arseholes cops in the dick, but it doesn't count if that's what he's into. Naked Florida man and woman arrested after fulfilling lifelong dream. In November of 2023, 55-year-old Florida woman Sarah Fazekas decided that it was finally time to fulfill one of her lifelong dreams. She and her partner, 60-year-old Florida man Robert Clark, traveled to the Dunedin Causeway, where they got naked and just started fucking like rabbits. A group of people formed to watch them, including children, but the couple was completely unfazed. This is fucking weird. They just kept going at it in front of everyone. Naturally, the police received a lot of calls about this incident, and they came to arrest Sarah and Robert on the scene. When Sarah was being led away from the crowd and into the police cruiser, she informed the police that it was always a dream of mine. Not the part about getting arrested or having a crowd watching her have sex, she just always dreamt of having sex outdoors with a view of the beautiful St. Joseph Sound Bay. Couldn't you find, like, a more private place to do this?
No.
In addition to the charges of lewd and lascivious exhibition that they both faced, Sarah was also given a narcotics charge for her Altoids tin full of Klonopin. So maybe she was just so busy being high and enjoying the view of the water that she didn't even realize a crowd had formed, who knows. As for Robert, this was probably a dream of his for a different reason. Robert was already a registered sex offender, having pled guilty to possession of illegal pornography. The arresting officers noted that he showed absolutely no remorse for exposing himself to children, instead arguing children should be at home and not on the causeway.
Get some help.
Yes, Robert, they were in the wrong. Well done, Robert, you giant brain. And Robert should be in jail and not on the causeway. Kevin and I, same page. Now, most public acts of exhibitionism are illegal, so I would never advise anyone to take part in such a thing. But hypothetically speaking, if anyone watching this video had the lifelong dream of having sex by a beautiful body of water, for the love of God, at least do it at night when you're less likely to be seen. Or just somewhere extremely private. It's nature. You're in America. There's loads of nature where there's nobody. Florida man botches castration. Holy shit. There are a lot of different kinks out there, to the point that nearly anything could be a kink for somebody. Most of them I can at least understand, even if it's something I would never in a million years be okay trying. Some of them I don't get at all, like foot fetishes, but at least they're harmless. But every once in a while, I'll learn about a new fetish I'd never heard of that makes me question whether humanity as a species has completely run its course at this point. Yeah, Kevin and I, as much as Kevin likes to throw shade at me, it's like fetishes. I understand many of them. Also, foot fetishes, do not understand. If this is to do with castration, oh no! And today, that fetish is castration. Don't get me wrong, I can understand the appeal of wanting to castrate someone. What? There are definitely a lot of men out there who deserve to have their balls chopped off, and you know exactly who you are, isn't that right, Ethan? Oh no, not Ethan! But having a fetish for being castrated is a lot harder to wrap my head around. For one thing, you can only do it once or twice. More importantly, though, why? And yet, when authorities arrived at 74-year-old Florida man Gary Van Risk's house in August of 2019, they met Gary and his new friend, who had met on a fetish website for eunuchs. Police, there's a website for that. Police went to the home following an aborted 911 call, and when Gary answered the door, he told them he had just performed a castration. He claimed to have already done it multiple times on animals and even to himself. What? Removing one of his own balls. What the fuck? Gary led police to the makeshift operating room he'd built in his house, complete with medical equipment, painkillers, and a camera to record the operation, in case the guy wanted to watch the video of himself being emasculated over and over again while he pleasured himself, though never again to completion. Oh, dude, Jesus Christ. I know some pedants in the comment section will complain that the statement is 100% medically accurate, but it's obviously a joke, so just let it go. Oh my god, I don't want to think too much about that. Anyway, on the operating table was the man Gary had met on the fetish website, and off to the side in a little pink container were the man's testicles. Also on the table, covering the man's groin, was a towel that was completely soaked through with blood. Despite having practiced this a few times, Gary's victim had to then be airlifted to a regional medical center where he could get better treatment for his mangled junk. When asked more about this experience with castration, Gary admitted that he had done this a few years prior with a local man in a motel, and it went about as well as it had this time. He was charged with practicing medicine without a license, resulting in bodily harm. Needless to say, Florida is pretty f***ed up with some pretty f***ed up people, but hey, thanks to the federal government, at least blowjobs are finally legal. And that's where we end today's video. Oh my god, am I glad it's over. Thanks for being here. I eat ass.